Is Islam compatible with biblical Christianity? Is Allah the same God as the God of the Bible, just called by a different name by Arabic people? The following film will answer these and many more questions about the religion of Islam. Before we proceed, we must state at the outset the fundamental and foundational doctrines of the biblical Christian faith. These three foundational doctrines are: Jesus is God in the flesh, God with us, and our only Lord and Savior. The Bible is the final, only, and authoritative word of the living God. Salvation is by God's grace alone. It is not earned or merited by man and cannot be possessed solely by belonging to a particular religious denomination. Islam. The name of this religion, Islam, is derived from the Arabic word salam, which is often interpreted as meaning peace. However, submission would be a better translation. The name Islam is meant to portray the Muslim goal of submission to Allah. Muslim is an Arabic word that refers to a person who submits themselves to the will of God and is a follower of Islam. The vast majority of Muslims belong to one of two major denominations, the Sunni and the Shia. With 1.57 billion Muslims, Islam is the second largest religion in the world and probably the fastest growing religion in the world. Islam is the predominant religion in northern Africa, the Middle East, and major parts of Asia. Large communities are also found in China, Russia, parts of Europe, and the Caribbean. About 13% of Muslims live in Indonesia, the largest Muslim country in the world. Most religious historians view Islam as having been founded in 622 AD by Muhammad the Prophet. He lived from about 570 to 632 AD. The religion started in Mecca when the angel Jibril, or Gabriel in English, gave the first revelation from Allah to Muhammad. As Islam freely admits that its religion was given by an angel to Muhammad, and that this religion flat out denies that Jesus is the Christ of God, it is interesting to hear the words of the Apostle Paul, written some 1,500 years before Islam was invented, concerning the giving of revelations by angels. From Galatians chapter 1, verse 6, Paul says, "I am astonished that you are so quickly deserting the one who called you by the grace of Christ and are turning to a different gospel," which is really no gospel at all. Evidently, some people are throwing you into confusion and are trying to pervert the gospel of Christ. But even if we or an angel from heaven should preach a gospel other than the one we preach to you, let him be eternally condemned. It is recorded that many miraculous events are attributed to Muhammad's birth and childhood. At the age of 40, Islam teaches that Muhammad was visited in Mecca by the angel Gabriel. He developed the conviction that he had been ordained by Allah as a prophet of Allah. Islam teaches that the Quran contains the literal words of God in their original Arabic language. Muslims believe that it was dictated to Muhammad by the angel Gabriel over an interval of 23 years. The text was originally in oral and written form. It was later assembled together into a single book, the Quran. Islam claims that the Quran is the only religious work free of error. Interestingly, the Quran reveals that beings called jinn, or as it is said in English, genies, were created by Allah, along with man and angels. The genies, or the jinn, were created from fire, whereas the human beings were created from clay, and the angels were made from light. Although the jinn are invisible to human eyes, the jinn can see us. Like human beings, they are also entrusted with responsibilities. They too will be rewarded for their righteousness and will receive punishment for their wickedness. Jinn, according to Islam, have been given power to change their form and appear in front of human beings in various forms, such as an animal, a reptile, or even a human being. Islam indicates that jinns are subject to the teachings of Islam, just like humans. The jinn, then, according to Islam, are supernatural creatures which occupy a parallel world to that of mankind, and together with humans and angels, make up the three distinct creations of Allah. Possessing free will, a jinn can be either good or evil. The jinn are mentioned frequently in the Quran. While Christianity maintains that Lucifer was an angel that rebelled against God's orders, Islam maintains that Lucifer was a jinn who had been granted special privilege to live amongst angels prior to his rebellion. The Islamic faith accepts what is called the words of Jesus. Some Muslims believe that this consists of the entire Christian scriptures, or the New Testament. Others believe, however, it refers to only the four Gospels. These words of Jesus are also believed to have been distorted and corrupted over time. There are 4 or 5 other writings held to be sacred or of great importance to the Islamic faith. However, the words of the Quran are the supreme words of Allah. Islam declares that there is but one single indivisible God, Allah. Allah is the Arabic word for God. The hard historical evidence demonstrates that the god Allah was originally a pagan deity. In fact, he was the moon god who was married to the sun goddess, and the stars were said to be his daughters. Archaeologists have uncovered temples to the moon god throughout the Middle East. From the mountains of Turkey to the banks of the Nile, the most widespread religion of the ancient world was the worship of the moon god. In the first literate civilization, the Sumerians have left us thousands of clay tablets in which they described their religious beliefs. The ancient Sumerians worshipped a moon god who was called many different names. His symbol was the crescent moon, the same symbol for the faith of Islam today. Islam teaches that the messengers of God include Adam, Noah, Abraham, Moses, David, Jesus, and Muhammad, the last and greatest prophet. Muhammad's message is considered the final, universal message for all of humanity. Islam teaches that God did not have a son. Jesus is merely a prophet, born of the Virgin Mary. He is a lesser prophet as compared to Muhammad. They regard the biblical Christian concept of the deity of Jesus to be blasphemous. It is seen as a form of polytheism. Jesus, Islam says, was not executed on the cross. Instead, he escaped crucifixion and was taken up into paradise by Allah. When a person dies, according to Islam, their eventual destination, paradise or hell, depends upon the balance of their good deeds and their bad deeds. In other words, salvation is attained by being a follower of Islam and through good works as a faithful follower of such. Again, the 3 foundational fundamentals of the biblical Christian faith are: Jesus is God in the flesh, God with us, and our only Lord and Savior. The Bible is the final, only, and authoritative word of the living God. And salvation is by God's grace alone. It is not earned or merited by man or by his good works, and it cannot be possessed solely by belonging to a particular religious denomination. As has just been demonstrated then, Islam denies all 3 of these foundational elements of biblical Christianity. The God Allah is certainly not the same as the God of the Bible, who appeared as man in the person of Jesus Christ to effect and to afford our salvation through his shed blood. Now you know the truth.